Joining us now, Laura Baigert. She broke the story. Go to GeorgiaStarNews.com. That's GeorgiaStarNews.com. Laura, thanks for being with us. Up to 18,000 of these ballots, Laura, in Fulton County should not have been counted because even Stacey Abrams' consent decree said, here's the paperwork, the documentation, the chain of custody you have to have between a ballot going in a drop box and the drop box being delivered and the ballots counted. And now you have an election official that you've uncovered, nice enough lady, Mariska Bodison. I'm sure she's just being innocent here. Say, look, I don't have any paperwork for that. I don't know what to tell you. I don't have them. Laura, what's going on here?
Well, that explains why it's taken 7 months after the election and 6 months worth of open records requests where we still don't have all the documents. They're missing. So that explains that. But as you said, we have 385 documents out of about 1,500. So 25% of these chain of custody documents, which are the transfer forms that go along with the ballots collected out of the drop boxes and accompany the ballots when they get turned into the registrar. So it's really interesting, and it's the first time we've seen in any of the battleground states where we've had an election official admit that they don't have that there's election irregularities. They don't have the documents. And this is only one part of the chain of documentation. After the ballots get to the registrar, then what happens? They've got moved to the elections preparation center. They got moved to the Georgia Congress Center when there was a COVID outbreak, and then they got moved to the State Farm arena where we saw them coming out from under the table, and then they went back to the warehouse again, and then the warehouse was found open a couple weeks back. So we've got some serious issues here with this whole chain of custody on these ballots that were put into drop boxes.
You know, it's beyond that, Laura. You're really representing, if you get just down to brass tacks, this represents 18,000 votes. Now, there's 147,000 total mail-in absentee ballots that are going to be scrutinized in Fulton County. There are 147,000 of them, 75,000, over half coming from drop boxes, the other half coming from mail. But even Stacey Abrams' consent decree said for a Dropbox ballot to be counted, you have to have documentation that authenticates the legitimacy of those ballots. You've got 18,000 of them. There's no paperwork. What, the dog ate them? They can't find them. Look, I don't blame Mariska Bodison. I'm sure she's a fine young lady. She doesn't have anything to do with this. She's just trying to comply with our requests at Georgia Star News and the Star News Group, and they don't have them. Technically, if you go by the consent decree, which is unlawful anyway, but if you go by that, these ballots should never have been counted in the system. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. When you don't have a chain of custody, you have no idea where the ballots originated from. These documents are just so important. And if you look at the way that they responded, and I'm sure she was coached, you know, she's the secretary for the election board. She's not really in a position of authority in terms of making rules and that kind of thing. But the public records official, who's an attorney, was copied on this. And they tried to downplay these, just saying, well, a few forms were missing. And you look at the wording that they use, they never talked about it being representing them as critical chain of custody documents. And I think it's because they realize what a big deal this is. But as you said, Ms. Bodison she's just responding to our requests. There were literally dozens and dozens of temps and these registrar designees who were handling things. So, you know, there just was not good control over this process at all. But as you said, then how can you count these ballots when you don't know what the source of them was?
Well, Laura, the other thing is we've still got in your in all the FOIAs and open records requests we filed from Georgia Star News, we've still got over 100 counties in Georgia that haven't even answered, haven't complied with anything. It's like they just, I mean, this is incredible what is going on. The bottom line is 18,000 of these votes, according to Stacey Abrams, should not have been counted. Now let's do the math, right? On all of the mail-in ballots, Biden was getting over 90%, right? That's been the average. That's how come Trump had a 100,000 vote lead, and we all went to bed, and we got up, he got beat. So he was getting 90%, and the fake ballots, he was getting 97%. The alleged counterfeit ballots that are going to be looked at. 18,000 votes, 90%. You take those away from Biden, Trump wins Georgia. But here's the other thing. You take those away from John Ossoff, David Perdue wins first ballot, right? At 9,000 less votes for John Ossoff, David Perdue's U.S. Senator, that change of balance of power in the United States government. How's that going to get reconciled, Laura?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know that we've been down a road like this before for us to figure it out, but this is just as important as looking at those ballots, is to understand that if you don't have a chain of custody and a source from where those ballots came, you can look at the ballots all day long, and without this piece of it, you don't know whether those ballots are legitimate or not.
Laura Baigert, I tell you what, great work. What's your follow-up story? I can't wait.
Yeah, well, we have a whole queue of open records requests. We've only scratched the surface with what we don't know. Stay tuned.
I tell you what, well, between yourself and Heather Mullins on Real America here, our reporter covering this, we're all over it. But it's amazing, Laura, we're the only news media in the country covering this. Like the AJC, the kingpin of fake news, the Electoral Constitution, they could care less. Unbelievable. Laura, super job. You keep up the great work. Go to GeorgiaStarNews.com, GeorgiaStarNews.com. Bookmark that.